Alright guys, we're back out here in the shop dealing with the 2019 Outlander XT. And if you have an XT and you haven't had any problem with your front shocks, then hats off to you, but I have blown 2 shocks on this thing, and every time you blow a shock your A-arms overextend and you end up bitching your boot up. So I'm going to do a video today. I'm going to show you how to replace your front shock and your boot, because if you have an XT, you are probably going to run into this. I think some of my problem is that I do have the spring spacers in there, and there's no rebound adjustment on stock XT shock. But I also know some other people that have blown these shocks and they don't have the spring spacers in them, so they are junk. And right now I'm not gonna upgrade to Elkas or the XTP shocks. I just don't have the money. These front shocks, they are what are they, about 100 and oh, there it is, they're 160 bucks Canadian at BRP. You will need a spring compressing tool to change it over. If you have that tool, it's a pretty quick and easy job. The boot, however, it's a little bit more involved, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. Okay, so in order to get started here, if you just go ahead, and I almost made the mistake of doing it, if you just go ahead and take the shock off, that spring is going to go kaboom, and you're probably going to skin a knuckle or scratch some paint or whatnot. So you got to take your spring compressing tool and get her on this shock here, or on the spring, and this should be enough to keep it from taking off on you. So what that's going to do, it's going to hold that spring. It's going to take the tension off the spring and the shock. I think I can get away with just doing one side, because it's really just got to keep it from, I can still get a wrench in there. It's going to keep it from taking off on you. So I just get the bottom bolt out, and then you're going to want to tip it out and loosen off this spring compressing tool. Just remember, safety third. There she is. Look at that. Now your shock is in 2 pieces. Ah, crap, I just got oil all over the place. Oh well. So now I just gotta take the other half of the shock off and we're off to the races. It's just one more bolt, 15 mil, a bolt and a nut. Pop that right out and we'll take her to the bench. Easy peasy. Okay, so first you have to start by disassembling the pieces of your shock. So there's a little plastic sleeve here. Take that out, set it aside. Take your spring spacer off, set it aside. And there's your adjustment here for your preload. And you're gonna have to take that off, and you will need, where the heck are my big channel locks? Big channel locks, small channel locks. Ah, man, I just keep dumping this bloody oil all over the place. So I'm just gonna hammer on this because I don't care. I'm not gonna reuse that thing. I just need this collar. All right, so this can go in the garbage with my other one. So that's your preload adjustment. Set that aside. And then your top piece here, you can just pull that up. And it's a 2-piece. I don't know if you ever watched my spring spacer video. Kind of shows you how these go. There's a top collar here and a bottom collar there, and they just kind of go together like that. Make that one solid piece. This can now go in the garbage. And then you go get your new shock. New shock, all pretty. And we'll start reassembling that. Okay, so I got all the stuff cleaned up. So you got to clean that up so it moves nice and freely. And it goes, of course, with your adjustments pointing down. So we'll just slide that over, and you want to clean it up because you don't want to scratch this all to hell. And this is the front shock, so I have my front shock set at the lowest setting because with the spring spacers you really don't need that. The thing that baffles me is the spring spacer. It's not much more than if this was set at the highest setting. So I think if you're running your stock XT shocks with no spring spacers and you got them on the highest setting, you're probably going to run into this problem too. But anyways, so that goes on there, and then your plastic piece goes on there, and then your spring spacer goes on there. I think that's how I got it. I should maybe check my other one to make sure I got that right. Yep, that's how I got her. So that's how you put her together. Now you just gotta put your spring spacer tool on your spring. Of course, I'm going to clean that up because it's an oily mess, because when these things let go, these are full of fluid to dampen the shock, and we'll slide her all back together. It's actually like, if you have this tool, this spring compression tool, man, this job is a piece of cake. I don't really know what you would do if you didn't. I guess you could use like ratchet straps and risk losing an eye or a finger, or at least some skin, but I have the tool, so I'm good to go. Alright, so I got the spring somewhat cleaned up. I got my shock here on in the vise, and I got my tool on to hold my spring down. I'm definitely going to have to adjust that some more because I just kind of have it on there loosely. Oh, make sure your shock is fully extended, and it is, so I'm gonna have to compress this spring an awful lot to get her on. Where is my ratchet? There it is. And of course I grabbed a 1/2-inch drive, 22 mil. See if I got a 3/8 22 mil here. 19 3/4 19. All right, well, I guess we'll just do her the hard way. So you just got to keep bringing these in equal amounts at a time. So you got enough room to get the cap on. got to do a little bit on each side, or the spring just goes, it just bends the spring. And oops. Just keep cranking away. Well, the last time I did this, I did it with my air ratchet, but I'm never prepared when I do these videos. It's usually a last minute decision if I'm going to do a video. I kind of find that working on the quad out here, taking some videos, makes it a little bit more fun to do. It's definitely more time consuming. Definitely a bigger chance of making a ass out of myself. But just keep ratcheting down. Spring's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Alright, we're almost there. Come on, get on there. Butterfingered. Well, that's almost enough room, I think, to get this on. So this guy here goes on first. Oh, I gotta make a little bit of room there because that rubber bump stop is in the way. So you just got to make a little bit more room here. Push that rubber bump stop down a bit. Put your top piece or your bottom piece on, and there's your entry point. So then, oh yeah, I need more room, but we are getting there. So we'll just crank this down a bit more. Spring is actually under a heck of a lot of force. So you definitely don't want these things to slip off. Let's see if that's enough room here now for that. Ah, japers. Alright. Okay, so there's lots of room there now. I just gotta push that rubber stop down, slide that in so it sits over top, and slide that rubber stop to the top so that holds your caps there. And then now you just got to relieve the spring compressor tool here. Slowly. Oh, wrong way, wrong way. So as you're taking the tension off this thing, you're gonna have to kind of guide it in there. Like so. Just make sure that that's sitting up in there. There, that's kind of sitting in there now. So at least if this tool slips off, that thing ain't going nowhere. Beautiful. And holy cow, look at that. Here you go, folks. Now your shock is ready to go back in the bike. There she be. Now in the front shock, this mounting point and this mounting point have to be aligned with each other. So the back, you got one this way and one this way, but the fronts, they both point the same way. So that's it. That is ready to go back in the bike, set on the lowest setting. The spring spacer is centered. That cap is locked in. Bump stop is to the top. It doesn't really matter where that is. When you bottom her out, that's gonna push her up. So there it is. Just gotta put her back in the bike now, guys. XT POS shock, ready to go back in. Yeehaw! And there you have it, folks. There's the shock back in there. Brand new shock. 2 bolts, no big deal. That whole job, it doesn't take long, especially if you have the spring compressor tool. It's just a piece of cake. Doesn't take long at all. I think well, if I wasn't doing the CV boot at the same time, I would say 20 minutes to a half an hour to swap that shock and the spring and everything. So there you go, guys. Now you know what to do when your piece of crap XT shocks, and they are crap, because that's the second one that I've blown. Here, I'll show you. There's my garbage. 2 darn shocks. Both Can-Am XT shocks. Can't afford the Elkas, so I'm just gonna keep replacing these until, you know, I win the lottery or I just bite the bullet and do it. So there you go, guys. Please like and please subscribe.